Caedrel's Los Ratones
Los Ratones, Los Ratones, Los Ratones, however you want to call it,
are off to a heater start of a career. Of all their professional games across NLC Winter and EU Masters, they've played 32. And guess how many they've lost? Only 5. That gives Los Ratones, a team that was kind of made for content purposes, have an almost 85% win rate. And following sweeps of the NLC, a Tier 3 league, and the European Masters, a Tier 2 league, everyone's questioning how would they do in the LEC against Europe's best. I mean, the only way is up, right? They've already proven to be the best in Europe outside the LEC. To address this and answer other questions, like what the goals for the team are, Caedrel dropped this Caedrel Recap on Los Ratones' YouTube channel. The full video will of course be in the description below. There will also be timestamps in the video timeline for you to skip if there's anything that you want to watch in particular. To summarize, he said this year, as in 2025, Los Ratones will begin their campaign in NLC Spring, which again will be the qualifying tournament for a rerun in EU Masters. But of course, depending on the outcome of these tournaments could mean we see a completely different Masters after spring.
The summer finals of EMEA Masters are in the LEC season finals arena, I think. So hopefully we make it to the EMEA Masters finals in summer, because then we'll play in a very big stadium.
Now, while the obvious goal is competing in a Tier 1 league, the barriers to entry are substantial. But outside that, Caedrel has other plans for the team if they prove to be insurmountable for now. A Los Ratones World Tour was mentioned to be on the cards for the purpose of just getting the players more experience in different regions and scrimming versus other Tier 2 teams, which of course would all be streamed. I also can't imagine other teams would turn this down, because as we saw from the NLC and EU Masters viewership numbers, anything Los Ratones touches turns to gold and gains a lot more exposure. And I for one would love to see the players gain experience in a manner that wasn't so pressurizing. Another thing Caedrel mentioned was the possibility of NACL, which FlyQuest so humbly supported. But his ultimate goal for the team was actually one that appeared in a literal recurring dream that Caedrel was having, one of sitting on the world stage in tears. He speaks on being the founder and coach, and he's developed a connection to the team and his players he didn't think possible when starting out, and said his emotions attached to the team are double in intensity because of this. It's to at least have a shot at the world title, but as I mentioned before, that involves playing in a Tier 1 league and then winning that also. So how do they get there? Why is Tier 1 so far away even though they've proven their competitive ability? Firstly, they need to acquire a slot. But that can't be so hard, right? Caedrel pulls tens of thousands, even in the hundreds of thousands of viewers a stream. Aside from delving into how much money an LEC slot actually costs, they'll need a major sponsor. And speaking of sponsors, I'm so excited to show you one today that I think will bring real value to a lot of players. This is SkillGap, an optimized League of Legends training tool. How many times have you not been able to react to or dodge a Morgana Q that ended up rooting you for 10 seconds? We've all been there. And how many times have you died because you misclicked while kiting and ended up walking right back into that fed trundle? I don't play ADC or kite, but you get the picture. SkillGap is here to prevent all that. The new aim labs for League. In SkillGap, you can practice your League of Legends mechanics in an isolated way. They're way harder than League, and it's all completely free, with no flame from your teammates. There are also cognitive tasks like Osu, but 100% specific for League of Legends demands. It's a training tool developed by performance experts led by Joan Soleil, PhD, who trained Messi in FCB First Team, F1 and MotoGP athletes. So you can tell they know their stuff. In the description, you'll find the link to join over 60,000 players who are already training and gaining an edge that could be yours too. If you are trying to climb this season, I suggest you to try it out completely free through the link in the description. And thank you to SkillGap for their partnership in this video. Now, for an LEC slot, it is projected to cost between 20 and 30 million euro, which is maybe even more. I'm going off that number because in this recap, Caedrel mentioned 20 million. And not only that, Shulker sold their slot for 30 million only a few years ago. Misfits also sold theirs for roughly the same, in the ballpark of 40 to 50 million USD. This is an insane amount of money, and not even is it money that is guaranteed to pull a return if it's spent. As we've seen over the years, particularly in the LCS, teams would come and go almost by the season. And while yes, that competition is inferior to the LEC based on metric, it's still League of Legends esports. But why do slots cost so much? To put it into perspective, 30 million euro could buy you an AW139 military helicopter, or maybe 10 Lamborghini Veneno Roadsters, or maybe just a League of Legends team. An LEC slot costs what it does because of revenue potential from sponsorships and advertising. With millions of eyes tuning in every year to watch Tier 1 League of Legends, the visibility for sponsors is huge. Every shot of teams, every photo, every stream, every socials post has your logo on it, and by extension, the product you sell. It may even be included in a clause ensures that players have to use your product, which indirectly gives even more exposure to it. Think about it like this. How many people do you think have bought the Secret Labs League of Legends chairs as a result of their partnership with Riot Games? Let me give you a little hint. There is a massive reason why they've been an ongoing league partner since 2018. That's why basically every team in the Tier 1 leagues have major brand sponsors. Some even have enormous multinational corporations like Nike, Adidas, Red Bull, and Sony, because they can afford it, and having your brand in front of many different demographics is effective for brand reach. But Los Ratones has a very unique situation. Most people pay to be in Tier 1 for the exposure it'll bring, but with Los Ratones, it's kind of the other way around. No matter where they go, the exposure follows. Caedrel and Los Ratones' numbers are that of a Tier 1 league, if not more. So even though the slot costs millions and millions of euros, I wonder if there can be some kind of Apple rent slot agreement. If you're confused by what that means, it's where they might enter a unique agreement because of the traction Los Ratones bring. It's like Apple being in a shopping mall. Their stores typically don't pay the same amount of rent because of the foot traffic that having the store in that mall brings to the mall, which inadvertently ups the cash flow of everyone. Just like Los Ratones, where we see Caedrel drawing comparable numbers in his co-streams. And correct me if I'm wrong, Caedrel actually ended up having more viewers than Riot Games themselves at Worlds 2024 on Twitch. However, there is one other way that they can join the LEC, one that Caedrel is already quite wary of, and that is merging with another organization. I'm not exactly sure how this would work, like whether a big name buys Los Ratones and they get absorbed. I'm not really sure, but either way, his concerns were voiced when he spoke about the idea, saying his main focus would be ensuring that the team retains its identity, because that's what caused the booming success so far and what the fans all love about it. Either way, the journey in 2025 will be a malleable one, and I'm sure of the opportunities that present themselves over the next year, Caedrel will pick the one that benefits the team and, more importantly, the fans the most. Anyway, that'll about do us for the day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another news video very, very soon. Bye!